Hello, everybody, or maybe some of the bodies. My name is Eric. I'm making a game. This game is called The Godkiller. It is a 3D top-down puzzle-solving adventure game. A lot of people ask me, are there some words that I should never say? Meaning, when they say I, they mean them. They're speaking to me. Are there some words that you should never say? The answer is yes. There are some words that you should never say under any circumstances, and it doesn't even matter who you are. You can be black, white, gay, straight, atheist, Protestant. It doesn't matter who you are. These words are words that you should never say under any circumstances. And there are free speech principles that we all try to uphold, but when it comes to these words, nobody should say them, and that's just the end of the story. And a curious person might ask, what are these words? What words are you talking about? I have them here on this piece of paper. A total of 89 of them. They come from various languages, various points in time, meaning like some of them are modern and others go just millennia back. There are words that you should never ever say, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. I don't want to release that into the world, so obviously I'm not going to say them out loud myself and cause some great problem to befall me. But also, I want to protect you as well. So honestly, like, these die with me. These go to the grave with me. It's just too dangerous. I'm not going to keep a record of them. I don't know why I had them in the first place. I was thinking of buying a safe and putting these words inside of the safe. But even that, it's just too dangerous. Especially now that I've announced that that there is this piece of paper. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do a proper job of fine shredding this and turn it into a powder later. But yeah, it's dangerous. Could ruin somebody's lives with those words. I have a hard time with plurals and singulars. All right, so let's talk about the game. In fact, let's not even talk about it. Let's show it. Let's show the game. Let's do a demo. In these sessions, I always like to start with a little bit of nonsense. Then I move on to a demo. And I was right in the middle of something. Should I finish it up? Okay, that thing is done. Okay, cool. Go back to here. I'm going to do a demo for you. And then after I do the demo, which is going to take a couple minutes, 5 minutes, something like that, I'll get to work on something that's interesting to me and maybe interesting to you, although I cannot make predictions. Maximize on play. Engaged. Play. Okay, this one is about sound. So I did something a little bit subtle, which is add a trailing off or fading out to a few different sounds. So if I hold down the shift key, you can hear my standard sound for fling rays, which I've had for many months. But the thing that's different is that if I let off the key, it fades out instead of just abruptly stopping. Hear that fade out there at the end, okay? And I had to fiddle around with it a little bit because the logic for playing the sounds and showing the effects and everything is very timing sensitive. Okay, so most audio effects, they don't really need any change in their duration. They can just play from start to finish, and you get whatever natural end to them is built into the wave samples. But some sound effects, they could play for an indeterminate durations. And the fling is one of the few sound effects I have that's like that. You hold on to it, and if you let go, it shouldn't continue playing, it should come to a stop, and that's why the fade's necessary there. It's a little bit loud. I'm trying to demo sound, but it's a little bit loud, so I'll turn it down a bit, take the edge off. It's a little nicer. Okay. Okay, now the second place that I'm using the fade out is in the level exit sound, which is newly added within the last couple of days. A number of people haven't heard the level exit sound, so I'll demo that too. It's fairly recent. So the level exit sound is a type of sound I call localized, meaning that the boundaries of how far you must be to hear it are constrained. Most of the sounds, they will fade off. I've added positional audio recently. After 30 to 40 meters. This one fades out over 10 meters. You don't hear it at all if you're not on the same height as it. So it's meant to cue you in, you're about to do something kind of exciting. It's a drum roll with a little glockenspiel on top of it going like that. Or you can just hear it. And what is the most satisfying way for a drum roll to end? There was a little bug there. There was a little bug. So I was talking all this stuff about fading out. And to be honest, it didn't fade out there when I came into the second level. So I may have to look into that. This level 2 is weird because I haven't corrected the shader properties on this level. Let me see if I can get the proper fade out to happen on the music. Okay, so that time it worked. I honestly think what happened was, I don't even think that's worth debugging. It's actually working as expected. It's just that I have these next level pointers, and that next level pointer was pointing to the boot level, which isn't a proper level, or I should say the boot scene. So that weird kind of Geiger-esque face pattern type thing that you saw is some placeholder art for the boot scene, which is what you would see when you start the game at the very beginning. That counts as a scene. When I got to that scene, the code faded out the music at that point, and then when I was into the next scene, the music had already faded all the way out. So that's a pretty confident explanation of why it didn't fade out, so I'm not going to worry about debugging it. I want to finish up a 3D modeling task, a really minor one. And then I'll move on to something more ambitious. So if you look at this corner here, it doesn't quite match the texture of its adjacent rails. So if I can get a little closer to it. Yeah, so this corner here, it's got little lines on it. I thought maybe it's got the wrong texture. What the problem actually is the smoothing on it is not set. So I just need to go into 4 prefabs, 3 now, I finished 1, and fix the smoothing on it. After that, I'll do something much more interesting. Okay, so this has been a demo. Now it's time to work. Okay, so let's look. Rail northeast. This one I seem to have already fixed. Okay. This operation I'm performing is specific to Pro Builder. Those do not look smooth. You can see how it looks like a flat surface there, as opposed to this one, or it looks like a round cylinder. Easily fixed. Okay, 2 down, 2 to go. I'm trying to be in the habit of fixing things near the time I see them, instead of waiting months and months and months and just kind of moving on to new and interesting work while I know there's bugs there. It makes you feel gross. To keep moving, at least it does me, to keep moving on to new things when there's problems that you see. Grow the selection. I think for a while the format of this stream was making me push on to new work a little too quickly. Okay, well, this is southeast, go to southwest. Same deal. That should do it. I can't remember if I made these corners prefabs over here. If I did, then they should already be fixed. They are. Okay. I'll just do a quick little test run on it. Looking much better. Okay. Okay. Now, a problem I've got is this next task that I picked for myself. It's not session size, so I got to break it up a little bit. Because I always like to have some concrete goal that I accomplish. Actually, let me hit play again, just so I can kind of talk through it. There is some code which controls the position of the camera. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So it works in a simple way. It tries to be at this angle. The angle I'm talking about for the camera is not quite straight down. It's it's got its x-axis, I think, rotated 15 degrees, and that allows you to see more information in one direction, north, a little less in south, but generally it's for aesthetics. It makes the screen look more interesting to have things tilted at a slight angle. So it's a compromise between a view optimized for aesthetics, which wouldn't be this top down. In my mind, the optimal aesthetic view would be showing kind of like 3/4 angle or something like that. It's a compromise between aesthetics and showing information. And this game is about showing information. I've been a complete purist on a different game called Drod. Okay. And I end up making it purely top down and really small tiles so that I could show the player as much information as possible. Okay, now here's the next part of it. If it doesn't seem like I can show information well enough, I'll switch the camera to a straight top-down overhead view like it is now. So here's an example. I come up here. As soon as I round that corner, if I still had the optimal angle, I'll call it the aesthetic angle. No, that's too long. The tilted angle. If I still had the tilted angle instead of the top-down angle, this floor would be going over the top of M. M is the player-controlled character. So whenever she's in tight spaces, or really more accurately, when she is close to a north-facing wall that could obscure her, it switches to this overhead view. And there's a few glitchy little things, like when I was over here, the angle switched around, and I don't think it really needed to. Okay, so here's another problem. The transitions of the camera on the XZ plane to move from one camera position to another sometimes cut through other objects and show you the hollow interior of those objects. I mean, all of our objects inside of 3 space here are just, they're all hollow. 3D games are not modeling the interiors of objects that you don't see, but it doesn't look right. So you'd want something else to happen, like maybe doing some pathfinding for the camera so that it travels along a path which avoids going through spaces that the player could never reach, or that the camera should never be inside of. So I anticipate that I'll need to have more sophisticated positioning. Oh, there's the other thing that the camera does, which I'll show. It drops below a ceiling in order to get a clear view of the player. So if I go underneath here, the camera zooms in closer, so that it's not obscured by a ceiling. And there's another example right there. As soon as I get out from underneath, the camera pops back up. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's got a few issues, right, this kind of stuff. And when you do flinging in particular, it gets a little tougher to control the camera. I don't know if there's any examples here where it's going to go through something. But I anticipate that I will need to make more sophisticated calculations of where the camera should be, and those will take more CPU. And I would like to do some of that calculation in pre-process, or sorry, yeah, pre-processing. That's the right word. Meaning, not when the game is playing. When the game is in edit mode, and then I run either explicitly run the pre-processing routine, or if I do save, I've got it hooked up so that it will automatically pre-process every time I do a save. So that is the whole problem space, and I'm not going to take on the whole thing in this session. I'm a little bit tired today, if I'm honest. I will be kicking off a weekend where I can get deeper into this, but I want to pick like one little bit of that whole problem and see if I can do it in this session. So let me do a little bit of design work to start off with, and then after I start seeing the design come together, I'll pick a task for the session. Okay, so then let's see. There we go. Alright, I'll start writing a design here. Okay, requirements. Might be a bunch. Let me do a different format. I'll go generally choose best camera angle player. Tilted or overhead. Choose best height camera. Okay, then this next one is I don't want to say that I'm required to do. You don't want to write the solution in the requirements. You want to say what it is you're trying to achieve. So let's say performant. We'll change to frame rate. Or if there is a change, it'd be so minuscule that's not worth considering. Okay, in order to make it be performant, I might need to do pre-processing, but I don't want to put that in my requirements. My solutions underneath, some of them may say do pre-processing. Okay. Camera movements between 2 points, either avoid or obscure traveling through inside objects. Surfaces with normals facing opposite direction. So I said obscure is the weaker of two solutions. Obscure would be like putting some kind of effect over the screen while you were going through an object to avoid showing your movement through the object. So you can kind of picture like a surface turned on in front of the camera. Maybe like a cloud that suddenly goes in front of the camera, and you sort of whip through it, and then you can't really see that you've traveled through this. I don't really like that idea, though. So, for example, if my level controllers are like they're per level scripting that says some things that are supposed to happen inside of one level. So for example, if I walk to a viewpoint and far below there's a city full of people doing awe-inspiring things, they're moving around like little ants down there, then maybe it's cool to take the camera and briefly move it out over a ledge so you can get a better view of them. And then when you walk away from that ledge, the camera goes back to its normal set of places for it to be. Okay. So some ability to override is useful. Okay, number one. And this one I think I might need to test to see if it's going to be feasible. That might be what I use this session for. Okay. So number one, real time. What's the term for it? Raycast. To look for obscuring player. This one's actually, it seems pretty promising to me. So I have some fairly complicated logic that checks for things that would obscure the player. Okay? So it's like, remember how I described the two angles? There's the tilted angle and then there's the overhead angle, aka the safe angle. And so I've got this function, well named, is wall obscuringly high, and that checks inside of these coordinates here, and if it is, then yeah, it's too high, and then there's a lot of stuff like that. Okay, and then it figures out like where you might move next predictively, and it will bring the camera angle down based on where you might move next. So that's another thing I might put up in my requirements. So you can see that there's quite a bit of logic here, and it's not perfect already. What if I could replace it with something much simpler? Okay, so first raycast along tilted angle from player if hit is less than, okay, if distance is less than x is, now let's say greater than n, ideal camera height. right, safe angle. That's the first way to do it. I know one problem. Requires so in order to optimize my scenes a little bit, I've gone through some of the objects and removed the bottom surfaces of them. And the reason I did this is you never see those surfaces. But raycasting requires that there's a collider present. And if it's a more complex object, you'd want to use a mesh collider. And the mesh collider, I think, will not catch the raycast. It will not intersect with the raycast if it doesn't have any surfaces that have a normal that is facing the direction that the rays is going to be hitting. But I don't think it's going to be that hard to add that back in. So my number 2 algorithm is not nearly as good. It's also a raycasting algorithm, but it's going down. Same as no, I can't even say same as number 1 because it really is a different algorithm. Okay. First, raycast down along tilted angle from player from ideal camera height. If hit is on player, then use that angle. Else, this is the hard part. So the good thing about going up is that it automatically tells you with one raycast what position would be closest to the player and still allow, what camera position would be close to the player and still allow you to see the player with nothing obscuring between it. But if you raycast back the other direction and you hit something that's in the way of the player, you have to keep checking, because you have not yet learned where that clear camera position is. So I'm gonna, because I think this solution is not the optimal one, I'm just gonna kind of fudge my way through it. It's gonna be here, but I'm not gonna work through all the details. Else, make some more raycasts at closer distances to find furthest distance that gives unobstructed view to player. Okay. Repeat for straight angle, a safe angle as needed. Yeah, I'm glossing over some stuff there. So minus extra raycasts needed. That's a big minus. I mean, it's probably a lot. Minus logic seems error prone. Minus would need to revise. Let's see. Would need to add a new mask layer and put player on it. Raycast against. That's not really a minus. That's just something I'd have to do in order to achieve this. So let's say because right now I've got the player set on ignore raycast, which it's just a layer. I could do a raycast and say, no, we're not going to ignore the raycast layer. We're not going to ignore the ignore raycast layer. I could do that, but then that would mean that everything else in the scene that is on that ignore raycast layer would also potentially get in the way of the raycast and be an issue. No, that might be a good way to do it, actually, because things that you ignore the raycast on can still obscure the point, obscure the view. Okay. Number 3. Keep the board-based analysis. Okay, I need to add another requirement up here. Works with dynamic changes to level. This is a pain. This is definitely a pain. The real-time raycast is going to not have any issues with dynamic changes to level. So there are these things called letter gates that open and close, and they can change from being translucent, you can see through them, or opaque, fully opaque. So if they were open or closed, it changes what the camera view should be, its position should be potentially. Well, I don't want to say. Oh, okay, let's call it persist a camera position map. Each, I'll say a landable square. That's not the right word. Each square that player can enter gets a pre-calced position. Okay, here's the good thing about this method. It's more complicated in many ways. But when I get to a point where I'm trying to plot out a camera path to move from one place to another, instead of doing just a simple linear interpolation between the 2 points, between just 2 points, I can do that interpolation between points in a path. And that path can be calculated by looking at this grid of pre-calculated camera positions. So suppose, oh, you always gotta be doing something. Come on, come on, come on. Jesus, who's running this show? Okay, so suppose that my player character is here and wants to fling from this square to this square and then fall back down. I can check this camera position map for each point that the player's at. And actually I don't need to check all the way along. I need to check, boy, it starts to get hard. So I've got that grid map. At any point in the camera pan, No, I do think I need to go to each square in that path and take the camera position. And then once I have that path, I can say the player will move across that path from the starting point to the ending point, with all the little points in between, over a known duration of time. And even this isn't correct. It's not the player that's moving over that path over a known duration of time. It is the camera. So the camera is moving over that path over a known duration of time. And then later in the update, once I have that path available to me, I can say, well, what time is it? And where does that place us on the path? It'll be between 2 points, or maybe right on 1 point occasionally. In the case where it's between 2 points, let's interpolate for the position between those 2 points. So what that would look like, if you did a fling with your character here from under this overhang out to here, the camera view would be under. Then right here, it would interpolate up. It would do it very abruptly, though, this first way I'm thinking. It might be necessary to know, in order to make good paths, not just where the camera could settle while you're at that location, but the range of acceptable positions at that square. So there'd be an ideal position, but there might be also a range that's larger that includes that ideal position, that are just acceptable positions for the camera in that one square. And if I had that, then when I plot out the whole camera movement path, it need not like jerkily move up once it gets past the overhang. It could just kind of swoop up. Now what it does now, if you start under the overhang and end up someplace that is outside of the overhang, is sometimes the camera will just move right through the overhang, and you'll see the ugly interior of 3D objects with their normals facing the wrong way. You see them naked. You see them naked without their surfaces, and it's not right. So man, it feels like the easy part of this, the easy part is finding a position for the camera to settle at in order to see the player. And the hard part may be figuring out the path for a good camera movement from one point to another. So thinking about it a little bit more, my upward pointing raycast should implicitly give a range of acceptable, I say acceptable, let's call them open space that the camera can traverse through. I think I probably want to combine some of these solutions together. So on number 3, I'm saying use the board-based analysis, which is all the stuff down here, which looks not at the geometry inside of the scene, but instead looks at the data structures which are there to express the game logic, for lack of a better word. So there's a combination of different options here. So we could split this out into two things. Three things, really. And I don't want to solve pathfinding immediately, but pathfinding is going to need certain things to be able to work. At least that's my impression now. Okay. Real time versus persistent. Okay. So the first decision to make is board-based versus real-time. No, not real-time, versus Raycast. Okay. Okay, the second thing is, do I persist or not? Third thing is pathfinding, the whole algorithm for that. Okay, so in this session, here's my goal. I want to write an upward raycast that figures out the open space between the two angles, the safe angle and the tilted angle. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. That's it. That's all I got to do. It's a good start. It'll get all this stuff in my head. It'll give me a tool that I can use for the different solutions that are there. It'll give me some visualization. I'll make it a game object that performs the raycast wherever you place it. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay. So let us create a new class. Camera space, analyzer. Yeah, that's good enough for now. Okay. It's going to be a mono behavior. Okay. Maybe I want to use something that's called what is it, draw gizmo? Is that what it was? I think. Kind of like this. The weirdest craving. I'm gonna text my wife about our food plans for tonight. Let's see. So I need it to start from the top of the player's head. Okay, let's get have it start at 2 meters above the player's head. Magic number. Above player head. Above M's head. Z. Okay. Const. Float above M's head equals, start at 2F. position plus offset. Okay. Calc. Ideal. Tilted camera position. Leave it out for now. I keep refactoring before I've got my basic algorithm settled, so I'll just, for now, keep it all inlined here. 1. I don't need all of them. Direction, what? It'll be vector 3 up. Okay, what will max distance be? Let's just make it a public prop for now. Okay. Okay, it's just between 2 vectors, so I can do yep, 2 vectors, pretty easy. So from my from position to my hit. It also seems like maybe I want to let's draw this. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Oh, you don't have red? Yeah. What's wrong? What's wrong? What is wrong? Okay. Physics Raycast. What do you return when there are no hits? That's what I want to know. Unity Raycast. Oh, is it just a bool? Looks like I got the call wrong. Huh? This is going to be useful to me. Okay, oh, out hit. Okay, let's do it that way. Let's say if bam. Okay. Okay. From let's direction, max distance, mask. And then I'm confused because your signature here doesn't match what's being used down below. Okay, here we go. No, that also doesn't match. Okay, this one is probably what I want. The hell, man? It's just a color. What are you giving me a red line for? No. All right. Man, maybe this is what I want. Let's draw a red. Oh no, this one's draw a line. Wait a minute. Okay, I get it. Oh, I think it's coloring it underneath red because it's the color red. So if I do yellow, yeah, that's what it was. I thought it was telling me something bad about that syntax there. So this might work, and I'm quite interested to see what it does. Let's take let's just start with a wall. Oops. Camera space analyzer. Max distance 10. Well, so far it's not working. That's alright though. What do I got? Friggin' Pro Builder nonsense. So, I think I remember I had to do something like some kind of, well, who knows? Hold on. It had something to do with whether gizmos were enabled or not. There we go. So that's weird. Wait a minute, what am I looking at? What are those white lines? Oh, that has nothing to do with my thing. This is the thing that Text Mesh Pro makes, this giant white plane. It does look like there is some kind of line coming off of this. It's not angled in the way that makes sense to me. Oh wait, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. Seems not right. It is starting 2 up. I can tell right now I need to center it in the middle. The angle that it's going at is not right. The distance it's going at is not right. That's a little perplexing, but I'm sure there's a great reason why it does it that way. So let's go. Let's fix this first. It's a nice thing about writing editor code is you can see the results real fast. To help ground this a little bit, I'm going to make the yeah, that looks right. I'll put a solid box on the end of this thing because it's a little bit difficult to see what the hell is going on. Let's do or sphere. if I remember right, it doesn't interact with the other objects in any way, so it's still a little bit difficult to see where it's at, but yeah, it's better than nothing. And this will also be an indicator of if it's hitting or not. I don't think it is hitting anything right now. Put it on the other one too. Oh, that's a mistake. There's something off here though. And I think it's because I'm using this ray. So let's go with line. I notice the second parameter is being described as direction, even though I'm passing what I intend to be an endpoint. Oops. Let's see what that does. Okay, now it's going straight up. Good. Okay, so if I move it under, it might be the case that I didn't. No, I mean, honestly, it should be hitting an overhang. Maybe I don't have it set right. Let me keep playing with it. Okay. Yeah, it's going through. Did I remove the bottom of this thing? Is that what's going on? No, it's got a bottom. It's on the default layer. Yeah, it's going right through it. No raycast hit. Could be that I didn't set the mask. I think that's it. Can I do... Okay. I get it. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So I'm pretty sure raycasts are proper fast. Like, I don't think I'm even going to bother with doing timing on them. They should be super fast. Okay, so this has got raycast showing me where things are going to hit. So here I can show you with this new object a little more visually the problem of finding a camera path from one point to another. Alright, I won't make one of these for each and every square. I just want to give the idea. And also sometimes when I'm explaining things, I'm explaining them to myself too. Okay. So down here, if the player was at this position, the camera would have to be just a little bit underneath where this red dot is. Maybe it could be right at where the red dot is. It probably could be. And that's true as the camera moves along a path. Okay, sorry, I forgot. So then say the player is flinging from here to the far wall over here. Okay. Now normally what I do is have the camera move in a straight line from this point to this point. So if you can picture that line just being drawn, there's a little bit of time right at the beginning where it's possible for the camera to just go right through the overhang, and you'll be able to see from the inside of that object what looks like no object at all, because you'll be inside of the camera view. You'll be inside of this object with all the normals facing in the opposite direction. It doesn't come up very much with the top-down view, but you could see like say right here. This is an actual thing that might happen. You would see a little pipe thing, maybe for one frame off there to the left, because you're inside of a game object with surfaces having the normals going the opposite direction, which makes them invisible. So you're not seeing a scene keeping its integrity, its visual integrity, when you're inside of there. So I don't want the camera to move through this space. The next thing that could happen with a very simplistic pathfinding is that the camera goes, it goes from here, and then like on the frame where it draws, when it's past the overhang, it immediately comes up here. That'll look jerky. It won't show the interior of this overhang, but it will look jerky. What is wanted is that a path is made following the underside of the overhang, and then once it clears the overhang, doesn't jump all the way up here. It's got to somehow pick like a smooth traversal up to this point. I haven't totally worked out the pathfinding logic there yet, but I know that if I have at each of these squares the distance that's clear from the center of the square up to the next thing, that I can plot some points that smoothly take you up to here. Okay. So this is actually a pretty good place to stop. And I will continue with this tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday, I'll have lots of hours to put in on it. My brain will be fresh. And I'll get into some stuff that's tricky. And I think the results will be good. Alright. Thanks for watching if you did watch. And if you didn't watch, thanks for not watching. It wasn't for you anyways. Stopping the stream. Stopping it right now.